You're listening to Murder Not Murdering with Erin,
and Autumn,
a true crime podcast about murder and murdering.
but we are not murderers.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Murder Not Murdering. So real quick, we do want to let you know that both Autumn and I will be out of town next week. So there will be a slight delay in getting the next episode.
Yes, but it will be worth it because we will come back refreshed and full of mystery.
Ooh, maybe we should do cases from the places we've gone.
Maybe that could be an idea.
An on-air idea. We'll
stay tuned. Yeah. Stay tuned to see if that happens.
I think I will, because I'm sure there's got to be something good from where I'm going. Anyway, yeah, so last week was really fun. I was really happy with that. Speaking of my case in particular. And then I just ended up watching a bunch of Lana Turner movies too, which was nice. I called it research, but it was just me wanting to watch movies.
Okay. I like that though.
Yeah.
Under the disguise of research.
Yeah. Gosh, I have to do research right now. Okay. It involves wine and popcorn. It's research. Very important.
Wine and crime. Can I write this off?
For real though. Anyway, what's up? What's new?
Just getting ready for my mini vacation. I'm super excited. I get to go see my really good friend Hannah, who I haven't seen since she moved to Arizona.
Oh,
so I'm so excited to go spend some time with her.
That's fun. I'll also be in a very hot dry heat because I'm going to Palm Springs for a friend's 40th birthday. Shout out to Emma. Happy birthday.
That's exciting. And Erin has the coolest nails right now.
I do have cool nails right now. I decided to go full on acrylic stiletto nails.
She never has nails like that.
No, I get polish every week, but I have I haven't done acrylic since like the 2000s when we would go get the French tips. But
wait, you get polish every week?
Yeah, every week I go in and change my polish. I chip it really fast, and I've not been doing dip or shellac. I've just been doing regular polish. So I just get a polish change.
This is my bougie friend Erin.
Not that bougie. Lucy's at Mathnasium. So she's already there and the place is right next door. So I just go over there and get a quick polish change while she's doing it. Otherwise, I have an hour to kill and then I'll just do shopping.
I guess that's the cheaper alternative.
It is a cheaper alternative. Trust me.
I'll let it pass, but it sounds very bougie.
Well, I'm just saying my nails look pretty awesome. I've never done this before, so it's been kind of cool. Not very practical for living or doing much of anything, but that's okay because I plan on just sitting in the sunshine and maybe probably singing karaoke, and I can do that with nails on. So
maybe 1000% you will be singing karaoke.
1000%.
There is no maybe about that.
No questions about it. Anyway, you were saying we were talking before because I gave Autumn a quick disclaimer. Mine is going to be quite somber. And Autumn said, well, I think I have a fun one. So I'm looking forward to fun murder.
Oh my God. That sounds so awful. I have a fun murder.
Yay, people died. Autumn.
I feel so awkward now.
Yeah.
It's lighthearted. Oh man, that sounds
a lighthearted murder.
I'm going to stop describing it because it's not in my favor at this point.
Well, I think sometimes you come across some that are more interesting circumstances and things like that can make it almost comical. mean, not funny that somebody died, but like
Right.
the circumstances and such can be interesting in that
And
way.
it's not like this one's comical. This one, we're just going to get into
Yeah,
it.
we'll just get into it.
And I didn't really come up with a name for this one. I didn't really know how to name it. So I'm just going to name it Bobbi Parker.
Okay.
And we're going to go with that. So here we go. On the morning of August 30th, 1994, 31-year-old Bobbi Parker and her husband Randy Parker ate breakfast with their 10 and 8-year-old daughters. Randy Parker was the deputy warden of the Oklahoma State Reformatory, and the family lived next door. And when I say next door, I mean right over the wall.
Oh, fun.
Shared the property with the place that he worked at the reformatory.
Cool.
Randy left for work that morning like usual, heading next door, and their children left for school. When he left, convicted murderer 50-year-old Randolph Dial, who worked at the Parker home as a caretaker, was working in the front yard. I'm going to be referring to Randolph Dial as Dial for the remainder of the story to separate the confusion between him and Bobbi's husband, Randy.
Yeah, I was about to say that could get confusing quick.
Yes. Over the years, Bobbi had worked with several inmates in the rehabilitation programs. She began to work with Dial when money was donated to the prison to start an art program. They spent alone time together in her garage, which they converted into a ceramics studio. The plan was for the inmates to learn and make pottery to be sold. It was during this time that Dial developed feelings for Bobbi. A few weeks into them spending alone time together, Randy started to feel that Dial was spending too much time at his home. And he was also getting the feeling that Dial was trying to control the art program. He confronted Dial and told him to back off his wife and to take a step back from the arts program.
Take her name out your damn mouth.
Right? I
couldn't stop myself.
Up for his wife, okay?
Yeah.
He had asked for the pottery program to be removed from their garage. Randy stated he felt like he was not only running the pottery program, but he felt like he was trying to run his family. Randolph Franklin Dial was born on September 16th, 1944, and was a convicted murderer, serving his life sentence at the Oklahoma State Reformatory. Dial had been a talented artist, painter, and sculptor before his conviction. He even held a master's degree. In 1986, he had confessed to the 1981 contract murder of karate instructor Kelly Dean Hogan, stating he was hired by the mob. He also was rumored to claim he was an anti-drug vigilante murderer. So this guy thought he was pretty important and very smart. I know. He was hired by the mob.
Yeah, an anti-war or anti-drug vigilante. That's pretty hilarious.
Right. Dial was married 3 times. His first marriage was to Christina Dial. They lived in Mexico City together and had 1 son, Alexis Franklin Osborne, who was born in 1978. The couple soon divorced later that year. Alexis, in 1998, was charged in a connection to the death of his live-in girlfriend. So it's like the apple doesn't really fall that far from the tree.
Yeah.
Dial's second marriage was to marry Catherine Dial. They were married in 1979 and divorced in 1983. They had 1 child, a daughter who they named Rose. Mary Catherine was killed while Dial was serving his sentence. Although I don't know how she was killed.
Makes sense to me. I'm like, was it a contract killing?
Right? There was no information, but I'm thinking if he was involved in the mob, maybe hers was a contract killing as well.
If he was involved in the mob.
True. Big if. Dial's third and final marriage was to Robin Dial. They married in 1983 and divorced in 1986. Their marriage produced one son, Perry. Dial had earned trustee status, allowing him to stay outside the prison with only minimum supervision. Bobbi and him ran the art program out of the garage, and he had full access to the Parker home during the day. Coming back to August 30th, Randy came home around noon for lunch and found the house empty. Bobbi had left a note for Randy, letting him know that she had gone shopping and she had made him a sandwich, and it was in the refrigerator. Randy ate his lunch and returned to the prison to finish out his workday. At around 4:45 p.m., the Parkers' oldest daughter called him. She let her dad know that her mom was not home. Randy said she had gone shopping and told her not to worry. She should be home shortly. 30 minutes later, Randy came home from work and Bobbi was still not back. He started to get concerned that maybe something had happened to her.
Yeah.
He started calling around to hospitals, but there was no one matching her description. The only thing missing was her purse. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, and there was no evidence of any kind of violence, and all of her clothes were still there. Randy started to retrace the day and remembered that he did not see Dial when he came home for his lunch break, but had seen him that morning during breakfast and when he left for work. Randy called over to the prison and asked an officer to check Dial's cell. The officer returned to the call and let Randy know that Dial was absent from his cell. Panic started sinking in immediately for Randy at this point.
Yeah, I would think so.
He started to fear that Dial had escaped and abducted Bobbi. Later in the evening, Bobbi's mom, Clara, gets a call from Bobbi. Bobbi told her mom to call her husband and children and tell them that she loved them. She abruptly hung up the phone before she could say anything else or before Clara could ask any other questions. Clara knew that something very bad had happened to Bobbi and immediately contacted Randy.
I would have thought the same exact thing.
It's like a mom's intuition. Randy, meanwhile, had learned from an inmate that for several months, Dial had been trying to barter for Valium on the prison black market. Randy starts to believe that Dial had drugged his wife and kidnapped her, escaping with her in her own van off of the property. The next day, Bobbi called her best friend and told her the same thing she told her mom. Her best friend has said that she got the feeling that she was being held against her will. Again, a friend, a mom, those people are going to know you the best.
Totally.
24 hours later, the Parkers' van was found abandoned just across the Texas border. The van was clean and there was no evidence of a struggle. Basic cigarettes were found at the scene, which is the brand of cigarettes that Dial smoked. Investigators considered the possibility that Bobbi had left willingly with Dial, but Randy Parker was adamant that she would never do that they had a very good relationship and two great kids. Investigators noted they found no evidence that suggested that Bobbi left willingly with Dial. Fellow prisoners let investigators know that Dial was infatuated with Bobbi. It was obvious now. Bobbi was in danger and Dial had escaped prison in the Parkers' van. Bobbi Parker was born on May 13th, 1962, and had grown up on a farm in north central Kansas and had a normal, healthy childhood. She went to college in Oklahoma, where she met her husband, Randy. The two really balanced each other out and were married in 1982. Bobbi had been a teacher, even being named Teacher of the Year, and Randy worked in corrections. 10 days after Bobbi and Dial were last seen, Bobbi made one final call, this time to her brother's wife. She sounded very upset, and she asked her sister-in-law to tell her children that she loved them and everything would be all right. This was the last phone call Bobbi made. She was not heard from again after that. The community rallied around the Parker family. Yellow ribbons were all over the small town of Granite, and prayer vigils were held for the safe return of Bobbi. A huge manhunt for the convicted felon and the warden's wife were underway. Randy's main focus was on their young children. He had told them the truth about their mother's disappearance. He was just trying to get through the day and make sure his daughters were okay. Sightings were reported, and one of the most credible sightings was in September 1994 at an art sale in Galveston, Texas. They reported that the woman had blonde hair, but Bobbi had brown hair. This led the investigators to believe that Bobbi dyed her hair or was wearing a wig. Witnesses said the woman seemed very nervous and scared. Randolph Dial was placed on the FBI's most wanted list and was featured on the March 17th, 1995 episode of Unsolved Mysteries, as well as profiled on America's Most Wanted. In 2000, the FBI offered a $25,000 reward for information leading to Dial or Bobbi. In 1998, an author, Charles Sasser, wrote a book about the escaped convict and missing wife titled At Large, The Life and Crimes of Randolph Franklin Dial. In 2001, this author received a phone call from a man claiming to be Randolph Dial.
In 2001?
Mm-hmm. He told him he read the book at least 12 times.
That sounds like a good old Randall.
Mm-hmm. Charles asked the man if Bobbi was still alive, and the man put the woman who claimed to be Bobbi on the phone.
What?
This is the details of the conversation that the author claimed to have happened. Bobbi told him, "I'm fine and I'm happy." She asked about her children by name and asked if he had seen them recently. Charles let her know that he had not, and he told her, "Everyone thinks you are probably dead by this time. Don't you think you should at least contact your family and let them know you're still alive?" She told him, "I don't know whether it's best to call them or go on letting them thinking I'm dead," and handed the phone back to Dial. Before hanging up, Charles said that Dial told him, "Bobbi and I are probably doomed to spend the remaining weeks of my life running." He also told him that any reporting of our contact to the authorities would just open up everything all over again and possibly result in Bobbi and myself committing double suicide.
Oh my God.
Right? He concluded the conversation with, "Do you think the police will let me come in from the cold? I'll give up and turn myself in to you if the police will let me have 4 full weeks with you alone to tell the rest of my story."
Yeah,
Charles,
I don't know if I believe this though.
I know. Charles told him, "I'll talk to the FBI about it."
Sure.
And the call ended with Dial telling him, "I'll be calling you again." He never called again.
Yeah.
This was amazing news to the FBI, however. They believed that this was evidence that Bobbi Parker was still alive. However, they did not relay this information to Bobbi's family. They were not able to trace the call and had no way of verifying this information.
Yeah, I wouldn't get them all upset over
No.
something that's not really that credible.
Right. And they had no way of verifying the information to be absolute and didn't want false hope provided to her family.
Totally.
So they kept this from them. They did not tell them. In April 2005, a tipster on the America's Most Wanted website recognized Dial's face.
Ooh, I just got goosebumps.
Right? Like I sometimes
know,
scroll that.
It's your dream.
Right. And I'm just picturing being that person and being like, I know that face. And he was certain he had seen Dial and Bobbi living in Kamptee, Texas. He knew them as Richard and Samantha Deal and said they were working on a chicken farm. On April 4th, 2005, 11 years after Dial escaped, FBI agents, Texas Rangers, and Shelby County lawmen entered the Deal's mobile home. Richard was relaxing in his living room, watching TV. Phil Mickelson tapping in a 13-foot birdie to win the Bell South Classic golf tournament, to be exact. He was caught by surprise and did not resist arrest. He admitted his true identity, the now
No way.
the now 60-year-old Randolph Franklin Dial. A few feet away, leaning against the front door frame, was a 12-gauge shotgun and a loaded pistol on the table next to a book about himself. At
Oh my
Large,
God.
The Life and Crimes of Randolph Franklin Dial by Charles Sasser.
OMG.
The trailer was secluded near a red dirt road and sat on a wooded lot across from 5 long metal chicken houses. Neighbors told authorities that Dial was often distrustful and hurried. They told them that when cars would pull up near his trailer, Dial would come out and greet them with a gun, demanding to know who was approaching and what they wanted.
So
They
neighborly.
right? But this is Texas. So, I mean,
Yeah,
guns
yeah, yeah.
aren't that unusual out in the farms. I don't know. So then no one called anybody about this.
Yeah, they were just like, oh man, it's that guy again.
It's just Richard.
Yeah.
They said that something seemed not quite right about the couple who lived in the trailer. They kept to themselves, never engaged in personal conversations, and avoided going to the nearby town of Center. They said the woman went by the name Sam and was very nice, but Richard, aka Dial, was cold and distant. Coworkers of Dial said that he was fired from the chicken farm and that he pressured Sam to take on extra hours to make ends meet. Neighbors said that Sam would be very nervous if anyone asked why Dial wasn't working and would say that his ailing health was his reason and he could no longer work. However, they said he continued to work on his art projects at home while Sam worked away in brutally hot conditions.
Oh my God, what are his art projects?
Well, he was an artist, so
Yeah, but I mean, what was his medium? Like what was he
clay,
trying to do?
sculpting, alcohol
Yeah.
art, stuff like that. But I mean, honestly, it's weird.
Yeah.
FBI agents needed to locate Sam Deal, who they were almost certain was actually Bobbi Parker. They located the woman nearby, tending to chickens in a nearby farm, and their suspicions were confirmed.
Oh.
The woman was Bobbi Parker.
See, part of me was like hoping that it was her, and then the other part is like, nah, no, I hope it's not her.
Right? It's still going.
Okay.
Dial was being held in a maximum security prison, and Bobbi Parker, now 42, was reunited with her husband, Randy Parker. And he was now the warden of the William S. Key Correctional Center in Fort Supply, Oklahoma. Dial told authorities that he held Parker against her will, threatening to kill her and her family if she escaped for more than 10 years. He said, she was living under the impression that if she ever tried to get away, I would get away and I would make her regret it, particularly towards her family. I didn't mean it, but she didn't know that. He continued, I'm not working you. I'm just telling you I know what I am capable of, and I'm not capable of that. But she didn't know that. The Greer County District Attorney released a statement stating, we will be looking at all the facts surrounding this matter to find out what actually occurred and what happened.
Yeah.
It would appear that the kidnapping charges against Mr. Dial would be appropriate. Whether there's any reason to charge Ms. Parker with anything, I won't know until the investigation is complete. Dial claimed to have kidnapped Bobbi by knife point, drugging her and using her van to escape. A story that Bobbi Parker confirmed.
I mean, it sounds plausible.
Right. Dial insisted their relationship was not romantic and that he was Bobbi's captor. He said that they lived in separate rooms in the trailer and that he would liken the relationship to as Stockholm Syndrome, where kidnapping victims became sympathetic to their captors over time, often out of fear of violence, which seems plausible for sure.
Agreed.
On February 2nd, 2007, 7 years was added to Dial's life sentence for his escape from prison. Dial died on June 13th, 2007, in prison from complications from lung cancer.
Oh, so he was actually sick.
Mm-hmm. If you think this is where the story ends, though, it
Oh
is
God,
not.
no.
Authorities were not convinced that Bobbi was a victim of kidnapping, claiming to have found photos, emails, handwritten letters, and condoms in the trailer that Bobbi and Dial occupied together.
I was worried about this.
Right? Indicating that the two were a willing couple. They also claimed that Bobbi had intimate contact with other prisoners. Bobbi denied all of these accusations and stood by her claim that Dial drugged and kidnapped her by knife point.
I mean, but we knew he didn't have long to live. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they used that story.
Right. Or he took the fall.
Yeah,
And
basically taking the fall so she could just walk away.
Yes.
And not have anybody upset with her.
Mm-hmm. On April 4th, 2008, exactly 3 years after she was rescued, the now 46-year-old Bobbi Parker was charged with helping Dial escape. Bobbi pled not guilty to the charge. The trial was delayed until July 5th, 2011. On September 21st, 2011, Bobbi Parker was found guilty by a 12-member jury in what was said to be the most expensive trial in Greer County history.
Oh my goodness.
Of $66,000, which doesn't sound like a lot, but apparently it was the most expensive. And a kicker is when she asked for the transcripts of the court, they were going to charge her $100,000 for them. So she said she was good. She didn't need them.
Wow.
She was sentenced to 1 year, but only served 6 months. She currently lives with her husband, Randy Parker, and continues to maintain that she did not help Dial escape.
What?
Her husband
back with Randy?
She never left him, apparently. Like, once she was found, she went back to Randy and he accepted her, told her that they had a loving relationship to begin with. They still have one, that he believes her, that she would never have left willingly.
You would not want to believe that your partner could do that, you know?
Right.
So I totally understand.
Right. And he and her live together and say they're still very much in love. And
I bet her kids are happy though.
Yes. Her kids are very happy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It just still, oof. I
know.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just like a wild roller coaster ride. Yeah. My sources were Murderpedia, Enid News and Eagle, TulsaWorld.com, Wiki, Unsolved Mysteries, and America's Most Wanted.
Dang.
I got this story. I remember watching this story on Unsolved Mysteries. Mm-hmm. And then when that whole prison escape with the woman who shot herself, the last name was White.
Oh, yeah.
That just happened. It just triggered my memory. And I'm like, oh, I have to tell the story of Bobbi Parker.
Back in Autumn's 1990s Unsolved Mysteries Rolodex.
Heck yeah. That stuff is in my brain to live forever.
That's why you're going to find somebody. You're going to keep looking at those faces.
I know, right? One day I will. Okay, guys. One day I will find somebody and I will bring them to justice. Okay.
It's going to be one hell of a podcast.
Yes. I'll be like, oh my gosh, that podcast, you will never hear the end of it. It'll be like a 6-hour long podcast.
Yeah.
All about how my dream came true.
When you first were telling me that it was like kind of funny, more like coincidental and like interesting. But one of the things that got me was when I was reading through like a bunch of murders as per usual. And I found one where a guy had accidentally killed someone by atomic wedgie. That's why my God. Sometimes they can be comical. He did an atomic wedgie and the underwear band broke and went around the guy's throat, but the guy was passed out, so he didn't take it off and he ended up dying. It was an accidental death. But I was like, man dies by atomic wedgie. I'm like, what the fucking shit is this? And
right?
Honestly, of course, I had to do a deep dive and find out all the information. But that's what I was kind of like, oh no, please tell me it's not the atomic wedgie one.
That's weird.
Right?
Do you think that she went willingly? I don't know. I kind of think that maybe she did.
Here's the thing. She was convicted guilty for a reason. In my opinion, there had
Right.
to have been enough evidence for them to think that she did help him escape.
And
Like
I think
letters,
maybe,
emails.
yes.
And it
And I
might not
think
even,
maybe that fact that he was terminally ill and they knew that, because when he was talking to the author, he told him my
yeah.
last weeks,
Yeah.
but he ended up living
I
obviously
still,
years more.
I still kind of wonder though, like maybe she didn't intend for the whole thing to happen. Like maybe she did let herself like give in to letters and talking to him and it seeming like it was amiable.
Mhm.
And then what happened was, you know, he took it too far and was like, now I'm kidnapping you. So I mean, like that could have happened and there could have been feelings there. You know, I don't know. But
It's
I
hard
mean,
to say for
it's a tough
sure,
one to say.
but I kind of feel that they did leave willingly together and that she, after they realized that he was terminally ill,
Yeah.
was like, he was like, I'll take the fall
Yeah. I
and
mean,
you
it
can go
kind of
back to
seems
living your
like that.
life.
But then again, we've also seen people that have been kidnapped for many, many years and similar in the Stockholm syndrome. You know, we've
That's
seen that
very
happen a
true.
lot of times. It's really hard to say. You just never know.
Well, and the thing that kind of was a little upsetting if she really did, if it was her being like Stockholm syndrome, and the cops were like, we were right across the street from the general store that she used to grocery shop at. She could have came in here and we would have made sure she was safe and okay.
Yeah.
But if
See, there's
but
like,
it's like you never know. Like people don't feel
and
like they can.
you don't know the things that he told her that he would
Mhm.
do. And like,
Right. And
maybe
he said those things to her. So
very well that he had a plan. He told her, this is my plan. I'll get there before you do. I can, you know, or whatever the case may be.
right. So it's like she would never be able to relax if that was the case.
Yeah.
And they live next door to the freaking prison, to be
And
clear.
and she knew that he was dying too. So that might have
Right.
been like, well, I can wait it out so my family stays safe. I don't know.
Right. There's just
It
so
feels like
many
at the
what
chicken
ifs.
farm, you could have gotten the fuck out and then called the police and then had your family picked up and then this guy would have been, but you know,
But
whatever.
you never know.
You
Like
never
you
know
just
because
never know.
it's psychological warfare.
100%. I just thought it was so interesting.
It is an interesting
And
one.
that she was found 11 years, like 11 years.
I'm waiting for her tell all because I feel like my mind is just like, I have so many questions.
Same.
Yeah. Well, listen, folks, we're going to take a quick break so you can hear from our sponsors, and we will be back. My case is going to be quite somber, and it is a triggering for those that have experienced sexual assault. So I'm just putting that out there so you can listen or not, and I'll be back in a minute. And we are back.
Welcome back to our podcast.
You went rogue a little.
I know. I just started to just feel what was in my heart.
Autumn, have you had an edible?
No. No, I have not. This is way too early for that.
You're acting quite giggly. I'm just wondering. This is just you in your natural state.
This is me in my natural state when I don't have stress like I used to anymore.
That's good. You have been very much liking your new job.
Yes, very, very much.
Plus, looking forward to seeing, I know you're very much looking forward to seeing Hannah too.
Yes. So I'm just in such a good mood. I'm going to see some sunshine.
Me too. It's going to be hot as balls though. Jesus Christ.
I know Hannah sent me the forecast and it's going to be in the hundreds. But then when I leave, it's going away from the hundreds. So while I'm there, it's just going to be hot as hell.
Yeah, we're peaking to 105, I think. I'm like, fucking hell. I'll only come out at night, which is normal for me anyway, since I'm a vampire. So
not me. See, I want to be in bed by 9:30 most nights.
Oh, that's when I go out.
I know. Anytime I'm up late, I don't hesitate. You're the only person I know without a doubt is awake.
Yep. 100%. Always. I will always be awake. It'll be like a weird hour. People always be like, well, I know I can send a message to Erin because she'll answer.
Yes. 100%. I know I can always send a message to you.
Yes, I am a sufferer of insomnia. So that is definitely, I will always be awake. Although sometimes I take some melatonin that'll chill me out a little bit, and that helps.
I'm really into melatonin. Okay, wait, that sounded really
Yeah,
bad.
what are you snorting it?
No.
Jesus.
I just started taking melatonin like an hour before I go to bed. Not that I really need a lot of help sleeping because I
Yeah.
usually am sleeping by 9 o'clock, but I just feel that I stay asleep the entire night.
Yeah, I take melatonin and then sometimes I'll do that CBD tea that
Mm-hmm.
you put me on.
Yes.
And that stuff works really well to just like I can start, it helps me to fall asleep. My problem is like falling asleep, but it really
Yeah,
does
you've always had that problem.
always forever. Um, okay, I am going to jump in now uh on my case because I'm gonna go sing karaoke after.
Jesus.
And I have to put a face on.
Jesus.
I have to put a face on and make myself look presentable. For autumn, I do not. I just look like a trash dumpster fire.
Love that. I
Yeah.
love that for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you barely even see me on Zoom, so it doesn't even.
No, she turns the camera off. Like
So do
I
you.
haven't seen her for over 20 years.
Uh-huh.
I
Anyway.
turn the camera off because you do. So I'm like, oh, hell no. If
Well,
she
it's
has her
weird.
camera off, I'll
I'm
have
reading
mine
and
off.
stuff. Anyway. Okay. Enough of that.
Enough of that.
I'm
Get
gonna
on
be
with it so you can go karaoke.
I will. I'll sing this whole thing. No, I'm just
Oh, I'm ready.
okay. So gonna get serious now
Okay.
because this case is really tough. So this is the case of Sarah Everard. This case is really hard for me, and I did a disclaimer on the break, but I'm going to say it again. This might be triggering for those who are sexual assault survivors like myself. And it does get a little bit graphic upon the facts of the case. So, Sarah Everard was born in Surrey in the UK in June 1987. She grew up in York, where she attended Fulford School. She studied human geography at St. Cuthbert's Society, Durham University from 2005 to 2008. At the time of her death, Sarah lived in the Brixton Hill area and worked as a marketing executive for a digital media agency. On the last night of Sarah Everard's life, she picked up a bottle of wine at a London grocery store and visited a friend before beginning her walk home. It was around 9 p.m. on March 3rd, 2021. The 33-year-old Sarah was wrapped up in warm layers and wearing sneakers. She took a main road, it is believed, that cut through Clapham Common, a park regularly populated by joggers and dog walkers. By 9:30, it would have been a lot more empty than normal because pubs and restaurants were closed due to the coronavirus lockdown. Sarah's image was captured briefly on a private doorbell camera as she walked by herself. Then she vanished. In the following days, the news of her disappearance sparked a movement and a chord with women in Britain, and it unleashed a wave of grief and anger. Online, women began sharing their everyday modifications that they took to avoid danger in public, like walking with keys thrust between your knuckles, avoiding dark streets, adjusting outfits to cover skin or obscure curves, calculating exact what tones to use when responding to a stranger's greeting without provoking anger or inviting further conversation. And this came out in a string of tweets and Facebook posts tagged hashtag she was walking home. And you may have seen it. It was pretty popularized. Women in Clapham were told by police not to venture out at night alone. The instruction was very similar to what police told women in the 1970s when the Yorkshire Ripper, a notorious serial killer, was terrorizing Britain's female population. Back then, feminists in Leeds began organizing evening protests under the name Reclaim the Night. It is nearly 50 years later, and the best advice for women was to stay hidden in their homes to stay safe.
That just infuriates me.
Was frustrating. 6 days later, the police arrested one of their own, a Metropolitan Police officer named Wayne Couzens. and charged him with Sarah's kidnapping. Women, over a series of Zoom calls, planned a vigil on Saturday, March 13th. The plan was to hold a socially distanced masked event at a bandstand in the Common, which was already serving as a makeshift memorial blanketed in flowers and notes to Sarah. But when organizers reached out to law enforcement to ensure the gathering would go forward without violating lockdown restrictions, they were told that the event would be illegal. The group went to court to fight for their right to protest, but ultimately felt they could not proceed without legal risk. An activist group called Sisters Uncut encouraged people to show up regardless. "We are angry. We will not be controlled. We will not be silenced," they wrote on Twitter. At the event, the police stood back despite the violation of social distancing guidelines. Women took turns addressing the crowd, sharing raw stories of male violence. By 7 p.m., the police had had enough. They began to press in on the crowd, ordering the people to disperse. "Who do you protect?" the women chanted back at them. When the vigil goers did not move fast enough, but were dispersing, the police pushed them to the ground and began making arrests. One woman said, "We were hearing women scream and watching flowers get trampled." The overwhelming public sentiment in the commentary following Sarah's death was that something must be done. When will women be safe to walk at night? Her family struggled with this tragedy and the massive media attention. Sarah had become the face of a movement, and there was a lot of anger brewing. Several of the family members mentioned that they wouldn't want Sarah's death to be involved in such levels of anger, but that hopefully this would spark some change. Now, details of the case started coming out. So on Sarah's walk home in a South London neighborhood, CCTV and several eyewitnesses saw a police officer stop her. He waved her towards his car, pulled out his police identification card, and swiftly handcuffed her. It was in the middle of the national coronavirus lockdown in March, and the police were charged with enforcing restrictions on movement. The young woman, according to the video of the encounter, did not argue. She got in the car and the officer drove off. It is thought that Officer Cousins told her that she was breaching lockdown guidelines. Cousins had worked on COVID protocols a few months earlier, so he would have a clear understanding of the laws and what to say to convince this woman to get into his car.
Man.
Yeah.
I don't like this at all.
No. Wayne Cousins and Sarah Everard were twice captured by bus CCTV. The first instance at 9:35 p.m. show them beside the hired vehicle that Wayne had rented February 28th. And the second at 9:38 p.m. showing the vehicle's license plate. Around this time, Cousins and Sarah entered the car and Cousins drove to Kent. The route was tracked using CCTV and ANPR. By 9:43 p.m., Cousins and Everard were in Dover and had transferred to Cousins' personal car. Between 9:53 p.m. and 12:57 a.m. on March 4th, Cousins' mobile phone connected to cell sites in the area of Siebertswold, and it is believed that this is when he raped Sarah. At 2:34, Cousins purchased drinks from a Dover petrol station. It is believed that he strangled Sarah using his police duty belt at some point right before this. Cousins then drove to Hodes Wood near Ashford, where his car was captured on CCTV in the area between 3:22 and 6:32 a.m. before driving back to Dover to switch back into his rental car before returning it at 8:26 a.m. After Cousins returned the car, he drove his personal car to Sandwich, Kent, disposing of Sarah's mobile phone in the town's water courses at 9:21 a.m. Later that day, Sarah's boyfriend contacted the police after she did not meet him. In the days after the murder, Cousins told senior colleagues that he was suffering from stress and no longer wanted to carry a gun. On March 5th, shortly after 11 a.m., Cousins bought and filled a petrol container at a service station in Whitfield. Then he drove to Hodes Wood, where his car was captured on CCTV at 12:37 p.m. and burned Sarah's body inside a refrigerator. At I know. At 1:47 p.m., he bought 2 large builder's bags before returning to the woods on March 7th, where he used one of the bags to dispose of Sarah's remains in a pond. On March 8th, he reported himself ill from work, handing in his equipment, including his police belt and handcuffs that were thought to be used in the murder. So at this point, with those handed back in, they didn't know they were used in a murder, so they could not be used as evidence. At 4:20 p.m. on March 10th, the police would search Hodes Wood, and they found human remains in a large builder's bag, approximately 110 yards from a plot of land that Cousins owned. Autumn, there is video of his children playing near the site that he dumped Sarah's body.
What a piece of shit.
Yep. Police in Dover also searched the site of a former body repair garage previously owned by the Cousins family. On March 12th, Sarah's body was identified through dental records. 2 days later, police focused on a search operation around the rope walk in Sandwich and cordoned off approximately 1 square mile of the town. On March 16th, police continued to comb the woodland in Kent, and police divers in Sandwich searched underwater for Sarah's mobile phone. Sarah Everard's funeral took place on May 22nd. The results of a postmortem held at William Harvey Hospital in Ashford were released on June 1st. The investigation concluded that she had died from compression of the neck, strangulation. On March 9th, Wayne Cousins was arrested in his home on the suspicion of kidnapping. This is before they realized that he had actually killed her. Around 40 minutes before he was arrested, Cousins tried to wipe the data from his mobile phone. When interviewed, he claimed that he did not recognize Sarah after being shown a photograph of her.
Of course you didn't, dude. Of course.
Well, the lies don't stop there because this gets a little crazy on what he says. He then claimed to be having financial problems after paying for sex in Folkestone, and that a gang of Eastern Europeans had threatened him and his family, demanding he deliver another girl after underpaying a prostitute a few weeks before.
Oh my God.
A woman in her 30s was also arrested at the address on suspicion of assisting the offender, but subsequently released without charge, because all of this were lies that he made up.
Mm-hmm.
On March 10th, the day Sarah's remains were discovered, Cousins was rearrested on suspicion of murder. On March 11th, Cousins was hospitalized following a head injury he sustained in custody. He was again briefly hospitalized the following day after a similar injury. After the incident on March 11th, police said the injury was sustained while he was alone in his cell. So he was harming himself.
This guy's a piece of work.
He's a piece of shit. That's all.
Yes, he is. And I called him. I don't usually cuss like that. And I did call him a piece of shit earlier.
Cousins was charged with Sarah's kidnapping and murder on March 12th, following authorization from the Crown Prosecution Service. He appeared at the Westminster's Magistrates Court on March 13th. He remained in custody before appearing at the Old Bailey via video link from Belmarsh Prison on the 16th of March. Remember, this was at the height of COVID, so a lot of this is done via video links. On June 8th, Wayne Cousins pled guilty to kidnap and rape and admitted responsibility for Sarah Everhard's death. At a hearing on July 9th, Cousins pled guilty to the murder. On a video link from Belmarsh Prison, he kept his head down and was shaking slightly. It was reported that he had hired the car and bought a roll of self-adhesive film, and I quote, strong enough to hold the carpets down.
Love that.
Just days before the murder. He and the victim were complete strangers and were not known to each other prior to her abduction. After the plea hearing, it was reported that Kent police had received a report. Now, this is going to make you even more angry. That in 2015, a man in a car in Dover, naked from the waist down, was seen, and it was believed that there was enough information recorded to the Kent police in the system to identify the man as Wayne Cousins, who was serving as a police officer at the time. So it seems he's had issues with this before, in being that he was not, that he was comfortable with committing indecent exposure. So he's done this before, though. So it shows that he has a pattern of issues, and yet was still allowed to be a police officer.
That just fucking boils my blood.
Mm-hmm. Speaking outside the Old Bailey, Cressida Dick, the commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, said she felt sickened, angered, and devastated by Cousins' crimes, adding, they are dreadful, and for everyone in policing, they feel betrayed. Sarah was a fantastic, young, talented woman with her whole life ahead of her, and that has been snatched away. There's a lot of outpouring for people wanting to have Cressida Dick revoked from being the commissioner, because she, at the beginning, kind of seemed to side on the side of police. And granted, we're not lumping everybody in saying that all police officers are bad or any of that.
No.
But you can't justify what happened to this woman because the man was a police officer. And you're going to see later why it's even worse. So the sentencing hearing before Lord Justice Fulford began at the Old Bailey on the 29th of September following medical and psychiatric reports done on Wayne Cousins. Cousins' barrister, his lawyer, Jim Sturman, asked Fulford to consider imposing a life sentence with a determinate tariff that would allow Cousins to become eligible for release in his 80s. On the 30th of September, Cousins was sentenced to a life in prison with a tariff for the whole life order, with Fulford justifying the severity of the punishment by saying that Cousins' use of his position as a police officer to detain Everard was a vital factor which made my views the seriousness of this case exceptionally high. Lord Justice Fulford told the killer he had shown no genuine contrition for his grotesque acts, and his crimes were so terrible that he should die behind bars. He also said that Cousins damaged the lives of Sarah's family and friends and eroded the public's confidence in the police. Sarah Everard was a wholly blameless victim of a grotesque executed series of offenses that culminated in her death and the disposal of her body, he said. At the sentencing hearing, her parents and sister addressed that loss. Her sister, Katie Everard, spoke to Mr. Cousins directly. The last moments of Sarah's life play on my mind constantly, she said. You've taken from me the most precious person, and I can never get her back. Just heartbreaking.
That is so sad.
On October 27th, it was reported that Cousins was applying for an appeal against his sentence. Any decision by the Court of Appeals whether to hear the case was not expected for months. As of December 21st, Cousins was imprisoned at HM Prison Franklin in County Durham. In March 2022, Cousins was further charged with 4 counts of indecent exposure related to alleged incidents that happened in January and February of 2021. He is due to appear at the Old Bailey on May 11th, 2022, which is tomorrow.
Oh.
Because they have looked into him, and there are 4 counts of indecent exposure that happened in January and February of this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Really fucked up.
So fucked up.
The case sparked debate surrounding the role of police in UK society and police evidence. The police were criticized for both their crackdown on the vigils for Sarah Everard during the COVID-19 lockdown and their failure to prevent the murder. Not only did Kent police not take action after the alleged incident of indecent exposure in 2015, but Cousins faced at least 2 other accusations of indecent exposure that had not been properly investigated. And he was involved in another incident in 2002 that was missed in his vetting. In October, it was reported that Cousins' colleagues once had been forced to call him back to the station from patrol after a prostitute visited the station demanding money from him.
Oh, wow.
In mid-October, it was reported that the police were investigating claims that Cousins had sexually assaulted a drag queen in a pub in a deal in 2018. Radio presenter Emma B also came forward to say that she attempted to report Cousins in 2008 after he flashed her in an alley in Greenwich, but the police just laughed at her. Police culture in the UK came heavily under criticism, and a demand for a stricter vetting was getting very loud. All of these things happened. There's so many things I just listed. And he had 4 more incidents that happened in 2021 just before the murder. This man should never have been a police officer.
No, never.
The government announced that it would spend an additional 25 million euro on street lighting and CCTV cameras, as well as launch a pilot scheme to send undercover police officers in bars and clubs. And that's supposedly to make people feel more safe. But this happened with a police officer, the people that are supposed to make you feel safe. Like they need to be spending more time on training and vetting and making sure that the people that are out there to protect you are the right ones. But that's my opinion. After the murder, the British government reopened its public consultation on its violence against women and girls strategy. It received an additional 160,000 responses in 2 weeks. However, some feminist campaigners argued that there's not been enough change in the wake of the murder. Andrea Simon of the End Violence Against Women Coalition stated that the measures that could make a difference in the resourcing are not where they need to be. And I kind of agree with her. Do I hope that this case will make a difference? Absolutely. I really wonder what it's going to take to make it safer for women. This case is especially difficult for me because I am a sexual assault survivor, which I've said before. But I was just out at a concert at night. I brought my own drinks and I was very careful. I was wearing shorts and a bikini top. And the next morning, I told the guys that I was with what had happened. And they told me that I was asking for it because of what I wore. It absolutely breaks my heart that this mindset exists. And it took me a long time not to blame myself for what had happened or even to talk about it. I wished I had done a rape kit. That's my survivor's guilt. Even though, I was 19, what was I didn't know anything. And I was, scared and confused. But that is something I wished I did. Systemically, I think that we need to do a lot in teaching men and boys how to treat people and women specifically. Destroying the patriarchy is a phrase that a lot of people use right now. And it's also part of it is to teach and empower men not to fall into the categories they've been in for so long. This could be a much longer conversation, but I know that this podcast only goes for so long and it's based on murder and not me on my soapbox. So last thing that I'm going to say is for me, I find that talking about what happened to me is empowering. And if I take back the story, then I'm not letting it lead me. It's when we stop talking about it that we stop shining a light on what needs to change. And there's a lot of change that needs to happen. My sources were Wikipedia, the New York Times, Vanity Fair, and The Independent.
I remember her story and Jesus, it's so sad.
It was huge. It was huge during all of this, but I noticed that he was coming up for his
Indecent exposure.
So I noticed that his indecent exposure was coming up literally tomorrow. And it's May 10th for those that are listening later. And I just felt like, you know what? It's not time for this to stop. Like, it's time to keep talking about it. And the fact that he committed so many indecent exposures and crimes, and his fellow police already knew that he was committing, there were things that were not right. They knew, but nobody investigated it or looked into it further. And those things were missed. He had a 2002 incident that was missed, so it makes me in his vetting process. So it makes me go, okay, well, what things need to change? Sure. More lights and CCTV. Great. But also there needs to be major changes within the police department on this specific case.
100%.
On the vetting process. I mean, that man was given a gun and allowed to walk around and protect people. I mean, it just makes me so irate. I also did want to mention really quickly that there are so many cases that have come out since then that have gotten a lot of media attention because of this. And in part because Sarah Everard was a beautiful Caucasian woman. And, I felt like because this was the biggest case that I wanted to use this, but there will be more cases that Autumn and I will both be covering on people of color that were involved in similar type of cases. Just because I think sometimes you don't hear those loud enough. And Autumn, you've done a lot of missing persons cases on that. I think it's just really important to highlight that I don't know if this would have gotten quite as much media attention had it been a different color of person, even in the UK, because they still have a lot of issues the same as us. Well, not quite the same, but they do. Yeah, I know. I was like, I knew this was going to be ending on a somber note.
But it's something that needs to be reminded, unfortunately, that women do need to be careful.
And all of the things they were talking about, like having to say, yeah, I need to be careful on how I respond to somebody that's talking to me that's unsolicited. How do, walking with the keys in between the fingers. I mean, how many times have I done that? Like so many. I think that all of those things, but that shouldn't be a way of life.
No, it shouldn't be. We shouldn't 100%. We shouldn't be in fear because we're women.
No. Absolutely not. And a lot of that comes down to, in my opinion, the teaching of men. I think there's a lot to be done there and a lot of work to be done. And I really hope that, when my daughter is growing up, that she won't have the same fears or that I have to teach her the same techniques. But, I don't know that things are going to change that soon, which is really sad. And that's I don't want to bring up our when we talk about Birdie, but that's the reason why I'm so passionate about it. And we've talked about a lot, so you can look it up if you want to do that. And we do have a promo code you'll see online, but that's why I'm so passionate about it. I'm not just someone who has who's just nervous walking around, and I'm not over exaggerating. I lived this, and I know that fear, and I know what it feels like. And I like to focus on how can we find ways to empower? How can you find ways to give yourself some sort of peace of mind? Because it fucks you up for like a long time,
100%.
So, the more that, like I said, the more that we keep talking about it, the more that people keep sharing their stories, the less it becomes taboo, or the less it becomes, something that you shouldn't talk about. Because even when it happened to me, it was something that you really shouldn't talk about, so it was kind of like a dirty thing, like a thing that happened. Oh, that happened to you. Don't talk about it. We don't want to bring attention to it.
Right.
And, had it been a different time, I probably would have been really outspoken, and who knows, maybe I could have stopped them from doing it again. I don't know, but again, I can't let myself go down that route.
No, you can't. What is done is done.
What is done is done. But at this point, if me talking about it helps somebody else, I mean, I know it helps me, but if it helps somebody else, or to let you know that you're not alone, then it makes me feel like it's worth it to share that.
Mhm.
I'm sorry that this was so heavy, you guys.
But now she has to go karaoke.
Now I have to go karaoke. Maybe I'll sing some sad songs, or maybe I'll just keep thinking of Atomic Wedgies, and I'll just
Oh my gosh.
loud.
Yes. Go sing your heart out.
That's
And
good, yeah.
we are appreciative of everyone who listens. And I've been receiving tons of ideas for cases, which is great. And don't forget to use our code for Birdie, not murder 15, to save you 15%. We want you to stay safe, especially if you're listening to podcasts on a walk. Don't put both headphones in, but have your Birdie with you.
Yes. And again, both of us will be gone for a little bit of vitamin D, but we will both be back. So we will have a small little break. It won't be very long though, once we both get back and get acclimated to the Pacific Northwest weather. We will be back with another case, probably, I don't know, end of next week.
Possibly.
Yeah, possibly end of next week or beginning of the following week.
Right.
So thank you so much for listening to us, and we'll see you guys real soon.
Bye.
Bye.